Hello everyone, DE, derived energy. In this video I'll be talking about technology and future prospects, and I'm going to read from John Gray's Straw Dogs. This chapter is called Why Humanity Will Never Master Technology. Okay, and he says, humanity does not exist. There are only humans driven by conflicting needs and illusions, and subject to every kind of infirmity of will and judgment. And by this I think he means that there is no kind of unified being called humanity. You know, we're just adrift in DNA, and there's no kind of, it's just an abstraction to say that humanity is one being. I mean, when people consider the extinction of the human race, they think that it's almost as if they personify humanity into one being. But if humanity was just one being, then he'd look something like this. Yes, and an infirmity of will and judgment. I mean, every year we make, or some of us make New Year's resolutions, and we know we should do something, but we are fallible, sentient, self-reflexive manifestations of energy, and we can't always do what we want to do, what we will to do. We know we should do this, we know we should do that, but we don't have the will, you know. So sometimes we fail in what we recognise as doing the right thing because of a deficiency in our will. And judgment, I mean, just talking about will, many people are under the delusion that we have free will. I mean, how can anyone have free will? I mean, what does free will mean in a universe in which everything just pans out the once? I mean, how could I prove that I have free will? I mean, free from what? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, what I'll randomise my behaviour. I'll toss a coin, and if it's heads I'll spin round that way, if it's tails I'll spin round that way. Okay, it's tails, so I'll spin round that way. I mean, but did I have free will whether I was going to toss the coin or not, to randomise my behaviour, which wasn't really randomised, because, you know, there were laws of physics which impacted upon which way the coin would land. You know, an infirmity of judgment. You know, people think, oh, there's a God in the sky, oh my God, you know, I think there's an eye. When I've talked about that earlier, you've just got lots of perceptions and thoughts and conflicting ideas and notions flickering in and out of your mind, you know, without any kind of unity conscious experience. So yeah, infirmity of judgment, and so yeah, I mean, human nature is strewn with delusions. Yeah, okay, I'm going to read from this now. Okay. At present there are nearly 200 sovereign states in the world. Most are unstable, oscillating between weak democracy and weak tyranny. Many are rusted through with corruption or controlled by organized crime. Whole regions of the world, much of Africa, Southern Asia, Russia, the Balkans, and the Caucasus, and parts of South America, are strewn with corroded or collapsed states. At the same time, the world's most powerful states, the United States, China, and Japan, will not accept any fundamental limitation on their sovereignty. They are jealous of their freedom of action, if only because they have been enemies in the past and know they may become so again in the future. Yet it is not the number of sovereign states that make technology ungovernable. It is technology itself. The ability to design new viruses for use in genocidal weapons does not require enormous resources of money, plant, or equipment. New technologies of mass destruction are cheap The knowledge they embody is free. It is impossible to prevent them becoming ever more easily available. The 21st, Bill Joy, one of the pioneers of the new information technologies, has written thus: "The 21st century technologies, genetics, nanotechnologies, and robotics are so powerful that they can spawn whole new classes of accidents and abuses." Accidents and abuses. Most dangerously, for the first time, these accidents and abuses are widely within the reach of individuals or small groups. They will not require large facilities or rare raw materials. Knowledge alone will enable the use of them. Thus we have the possibility not just of weapons of mass destruction, but of knowledge-enabled mass destruction. This destructiveness hugely amplified by the power of self-replication. In part, governments have created this situation. By ceding so much control over new technology to the marketplace, they have colluded in their own powerlessness. Nevertheless, the proliferation of new weapons of mass destruction is not in the end a result of errors in policy. It is a consequence of the diffusion of knowledge. Controls of technology cannot be enforced. The genetic modification of crops, animals, or humans may be forbidden in some countries, but it will go ahead in others. The world's powers can pledge that genetic engineering will have only benign uses, but it can only be a matter of time before it is used for purposes of war. Perhaps the world's most unstable states can be prevented from acquiring nuclear capability, but how can biological weapons be kept out of the hands of forces no government controls? If anything about the present century is certain, it is that the power conferred on humanity by new technologies will be used to commit atrocious crimes against it. If it becomes possible to clone human beings, soldiers will be bred in whom normal human emotions are stunted or absent, like fear or compassion, for example. Genetic engineering may enable age-old diseases to be eradicated. At the same time, it is likely to be the technology of choice in future genocides. Those who ignore the destructive potential of new technologies can do so only because they ignore history. Pogroms are as old as Christendom, but without railways, the telegraph, and poison gas, there could have been no Holocaust. There have always been tyrannies, but without modern means of transport and communication, Stalin and Mao could not have built their gulags. Humanity's worst crimes were made possible only by modern technology. There is a deeper reason why humanity will never control technology. Technology is not something that humankind can control. It is an event that has befallen the world. Once a technology enters human life, whether it be fire, the wheel, the automobile, radio, television, or the internet, it changes it in ways we can never fully understand. Cars may have been invented, blah 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 blah. Nothing is more commonplace than to lament that moral progress has failed to keep pace with scientific knowledge. If only we were more intelligent or more moral, we could use technology only for benign ends. The fault is not in our tools, we say, but in ourselves. In one sense this is true. Technical progress leaves only one problem unsolved: the frailty of human nature. Unfortunately, this problem is insoluble.